folks who think that every school should be mixed in terms of ethnicity, economic status, etc., in order to get best results. What do you all think of that? Or what does any one of you think of that particular notion, which is actually being discussed a lot because of Brown versus Board of Ed being 60 years old, I think, this coming week.
We had that discussion. Equality in education does not mean that it has to be a mixed environment. It means that money is equally distributed throughout the school. It means that a level of teaching exists, or the teachers that we hire exist. So I personally, in my opinion, do not see necessarily a need for an equal distribution of all the different races of people in the school. It doesn't even make sense in my mind, because when you look at how our neighborhoods, unfortunately, are set up, we tend to be in neighborhoods that are predominantly this or predominantly black, and so, or, and so forth. The goal to me ought to be focused on equal distribution. If you have 10 textbooks, I should have 10 textbooks too. If you have the latest, I should have the latest too. Technology and so forth, that is where that's where we need to focus.
All students can learn and do every subject well. So, wherever the school happens to be, I don't think diversity, one way or the other, has something to do with the level of education. We have, and thanks to Ms. Smith, we have students who are going on to Ivy League colleges, and these are African American students. So, and we are from a culture. When a student asks me where I'm from, I said, let's stick with the lesson, because it's secondary. Diversity is secondary to what you learn and the opportunity you make of the situation of your school situation or wherever you are. What you learn is important, and not the diversity. So I don't want us to spend a lot of time on diversity. We want to spend a time on students learning, because no group, as control education, as a monopoly on it, all group can learn and learn well. And we have had students who can learn well.
Because we have re-imaged what success looks like. Success used to be rich, white, exurbia, suburbia, but that has been reshaped. There's a new shift in where excellence is. Excellence is where we've talked about already, where the commitment is, where the preparation is, where the support is, where the families also buy into it. So that if we look, we're not saying that just because 97% of our students are of color, there's a diversity in that profile.
What in a school is necessary for you, and do you think is necessary for other teachers, to want to stay?
For me, what makes me want to stay is my ability to teach at a level and feel comfortable teaching at a level that prepares students for college. Being able to meet students where they are, being able to have extra tutorial sessions with the students. I'm very comfortable with the idea of just lending as much time as I need to lend to the education of students. And I've been able to do that here, and I also nurture teachers and help them to be able to do that here. And that to me is satisfying and gratifying.
And when I came, it was totally different.
How so?
Kids would, in the mornings, they'll hang out by the store and come into the school late. I was thinking of leaving, and after Dr. Wilshire came and he laid out his vision, I decided that that's what I expect in a school, so I decided to stay. In the mornings, when he came the first year, he would leave and go to the store and bring them out of the store to school. Some of the kids were upset initially because they could hang out in the store and come late. So the kids themselves realized eventually that he did care. Initially, they didn't like the idea, but then when they see him, some of them started getting to school. As soon as they saw him come out there, they would start coming to school, because he would go in the store and get them out of the store. Go by the train if they're standing by the train and bring them to school. So they realized that was no longer an option to be hanging out outside and coming in late. So I think it began from that time, and then with the discipline he insisted, in this school we're here to learn. We don't accept any nonsense.
So we were under different administration, and we saw the turnover of teachers. Every September we came in and we looked around at the faculty meeting to see who was left, who came back. But once Dr. Wilshire took over, because he's the second principal of this school, once he took over, he had a vision. And I remembered Dr. Wilshire, I was writing the CP, and Dr. Wilshire said, he said, you quote me, just put this in there, in 5 years, this will be a college preparatory school. And he kept repeating that. So for him, he had a vision in mind. And what he did, he took it step by step. So he realized the high turnover of teachers. He said, that's something that is going to stop. We are going to start retaining more teachers, and so the students will become accustomed to the teachers, and that's what he did. So every year he put something else in place, and it led up to what it is today.
Is there something about the climate of a school that enables one to do what you were just saying, to really teach the content?
There definitely is. They call Medgar Evers College Prep a low incidence school, which means that we generally don't have problems with students fighting, running in the halls, knocking on doors, and those kind of distractions. And that to me is a major element in keeping teachers and in enabling them to do their job in terms of educating the children. So to me, that's number one, having that school that's able to run and function.
What does it take to create a low incidence school?
You want to ask me?
I do, but if somebody else would like to jump in.
Parents, I think, number one, and that's our number one asset, that we have parents that are very supportive. And if the teachers also have to communicate with the parents. And as long as the parent is in the loop, I think that helps us to be able to establish that environment that helps us to retain teachers.
We have a low incidence school because, one, our kids feel welcome. If a child is in the hallway, they know that you know their name. They're not a number. In this school, all kids know that you are a person. You're called by your name. They feel welcome, and they feel a part of the school. This is their school. Many of them have taken ownership, and this is their school. So you see a lot of kids volunteering and doing such things. So as a result, we have a low incidence school because they're not going to do anything to destroy this school.
Leadership, it plays a significant role. Because, and those of you're here longer than I am, when the principal inherited this school, it wasn't that way. But a concerted effort was made on his part to ensure that a climate that is conducive to teaching and learning is maintained in the school. And one of that was to ensure that discipline is maintained. And I have a friend who once said, boy, if a student moves a chair, the principal, the parent is going to be called in. So we go after the very small things, okay, to ensure that they know that we are in the business of creating discipline. And after a while, most of the kids, they fall in line because they know that at the end of the day, it is also creating a safer environment for them.
Incentives and a career ladder. Is that a necessity?
For people who choose to be educators, no amount of money can compensate them for the amount of time they're willing to spend doing their job. It's nice to have in the end, of course, but if you have chosen a profession of education, a career of education, in my mind, I have to be able to survive and support my family. Beyond that, I have to know that at the end of my day, I have done the best I can to ensure that my students were educated. And so I would put incentives as it's nice to have, but not mandated.
I think when you talk about teaching as a profession, as pedagogues, it's never been something that's been pursued, as Ms. Stewart referred to, for money. You know, but what happens is that there's a hierarchy of fulfillment that goes beyond the dollars, and we all have responsibilities. If we won the lottery, maybe we'd have to make another decision. But in terms of fulfillment as a professional, the fact that we are valued, the fact that we can see the fruits of our efforts in the accomplishments that have been successive each year that the principal has been in the position, we can look at very concrete kinds of things. And as a professional, I don't want my patients to die. I want my patients to thrive. I want them to realize that they can do, some of them, physics in the 8th grade. They didn't believe it. Their parents were afraid that in the 6th grade, they can study Chinese and actually speak Chinese, and the parents don't have to take it for them. And then what happens is that those accomplishments feed us, because we can celebrate it. When our students are successful, as they have been, we celebrate because we realize that we're doing something right.